Hi, I'm Dr. Rod Kurthy. I'm the developer of the core whitening system, and I'm also the developer of the original deep bleaching technique that you may have heard about. I've been involved in clinical research in many fields of dentistry for 37 years. And in the field of teeth whitening, I've been conducting research for the last 36 years. Everything I have discovered during that time has gone into the development of the core whitening system, which is unchallenged as being the most effective whitening system available. Now, you may have heard that core whitening is the system based on science. And you may be wondering why we say that. Well, the fact is, the typical whitening procedures seen today were not developed based on science. Let me explain. Years ago, dentistry just sort of stumbled onto tray whitening. Depending upon which story you hear, it appears that it was either a group of periodontists trying to treat the gingiva with peroxide in trays, or the more common story is that it was a group of orthodontists who were very frustrated that they always saw their patients' gums being swollen and unhealthy when they debanded the cases, especially on children. So what they did is they made their patients trays and sent them home with those trays and peroxide gel in hopes that the peroxide would speed the healing of the gums. Well, obviously what they saw is that the teeth seemed to get lighter. Wow, who knew? So, of course, dental companies started making peroxide just to put in trays specifically to whiten teeth. This wasn't based on science. It just is something that simply happened. Now, because companies understood that we Americans, we want what we want and we want it now, well, these companies figured that they'd use a stronger peroxide to speed up the process. But of course, what they found is that stronger peroxide burns the gums, so they had to use rubber dam or paint on dam, and they had to use the stronger peroxide in the dental office. Well, we dentists then found that one visit in-office whitening was very unpredictable and it didn't last very long, and we got many patient complaints. Well, we dentists are pretty smart people. So we started making trays for our patients and sending them home with whitening gel because we knew that at-home whitening would work better, so we wouldn't get all the patient complaints. Now, this all just happened. It had nothing to do with science, and this is still the way whitening is typically done today. Sure, universities have studied many things about whitening, but those studies have utilized the same common whitening approaches used in dental practices today. Remember, you can't change the laws of physics and you can't change the laws of chemistry. Core is the first system to be designed from the ground up to work with the laws of physics and chemistry instead of against them. As you're going to see, by following these laws of physics and chemistry, core can achieve results that no other system can, even on cases that were previously thought to be impossible. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to be showing you exactly the kind of results that core whitening delivers for less money than you may be spending on your current whitening system. You're going to see why so many dentists have switched to core already. I'll also go over how easy it is to get started with core whitening thanks to our no-risk money-back guarantee. Now, many cases that I'll be showing you today are very difficult cases, but please don't get the idea that core is only for the difficult cases. There's a core whitening system for any whitening need that you might have in your practice. I like to show these difficult cases because seeing how successful core is on the difficult ones makes it easy to understand just how much your average patients are going to love the results. After all, any patient who asks you for teeth whitening is expecting you to get their teeth white. Now, if you don't meet those expectations, you could lose their confidence. But if you exceed their expectations, now all of a sudden you're the best dentist I've ever gone to. So having confidence in you means that your patients are much more likely to schedule that necessary treatment that you told them about, the optional treatment that you recommended, and they're a lot more likely to refer others to you. Realize that when teeth get truly white, patients become infatuated. They just can't take their eyes off their teeth. That's when they start to notice the imperfections. And of course, now all those old fillings and crowns look dark. That's when they start to ask you to replace those dark fillings and the dark crowns and to fix the chips and close the spaces that they're now noticing. Or possibly orthodontic procedures like Invisalign or short-term orthodontics, right on up to full-blown veneer cases. So let's start by taking a look at a few of the impossible type core whitening cases that ended up changing patients' lives. Here's an amazing life-changing case from Dr. Lin Tao. This is an 11-year-old boy with dark brown spots from fluorosis. Now, notice that these brown areas are primarily in the incisal half of those upper centrals. When Dr. Tao asked this patient to smile, this is what he saw. Can you see what this patient's doing? He was so embarrassed that he had trained himself to cover those brown areas with his lower lip when he smiled. But just take a look at the result that this patient got with core whitening and realize that these post-op pictures you're looking at were taken before the patient was even done. He still had a couple more days of whitening to go. Well, you talk about life-changing. Just imagine how you'd feel if you were this young man's parent. Now here's another life changer from Dr. John Cloud. Actually, this patient was his receptionist. Now he saw that she was a very attractive young woman, but she just never seemed to smile. Well, of course, this is another fluorosis case. And just look at the result. But I want you to realize that these post-op photos are her 1-year post-op photos. And this is a fluorosis case. Well, John told me that this truly did change her life and that now she smiles all the time. And in fact, he said that she told him that in the beginning, her cheeks hurt because she wasn't used to smiling so much. Well, in the next case by Dr. Walter Mick, this is perhaps the most emotional dental case I've personally ever seen. This is an example of just how emotionally devastating discolored teeth can be for patients. This patient was 35 years old, and the staining that you're looking at had psychologically crippled him since childhood. Sadly, he just could not afford porcelain veneers. Well, even though he had all his teeth and they were periodontally sound, when he came to Walter's office as a new patient, can you guess what he was asking Walter to do? That's right. He was asking Walter to extract all his teeth and give him dentures. Well, naturally, Walter refused and suggested core whitening. And just look at the result he got. Of course, those dark composites had to be replaced, and there still is some faint tetracycline staining that you're seeing. But what a miraculous result for this patient. Walter told me that in his career, he has never before seen a patient and his wife so overcome that words just would not come out of their mouth. And he told me that this was the single most gratifying day he personally has ever had in dental practice. Now let me show you one more life-changing case. This is me. These are my teeth you're looking at. You'll see my teeth were slightly darker than a C4 shade tab. I had a combination of congenital darkness and diffuse tetracycline staining. And notice how well my PFM crown number 12 matched my other teeth prior to core whitening. And in the after photo, it's easy to see how huge the color difference is. Now my patients look at me and they say, I want teeth the same color as yours. Wow, you just have no idea how great that feels for someone like me who's always had a problem with tooth discoloration. Now the picture you're looking at right now was taken 6 years after my core whitening, and you can still see the huge color difference between my crown and my whitened teeth. And I'll tell you, I still have not replaced that crown because it's so much fun and so effective to show my patients. After I show them these photos, I then go like this and show them, and they see in living color the huge result. And I'll tell you, seeing is believing, and almost all of them say, that's what I want. So, as you've just seen, core is capable of whitening severely discolored cases more effectively than any other system on the market. Just look at a few more of these amazing, life-changing cases. But as I just mentioned, core is not just for the difficult cases. Let's take that same whitening effectiveness and apply it to patients with average tooth coloration. Just imagine how excited every patient in your practice will be. And I'm sure you do understand the huge benefit of having a practice full of excited patients. Now, just take a look at a few of these patients with average tooth color and look at the amazing results they achieved. Imagine how elated these patients are and how much they love their dentists. Now, do you think that these patients refer to their dentists more? Of course they do. And do you think that they're more likely to follow the recommendations of their dentist? You bet they are. Now, if you do a lot of cosmetic dentistry in your practice, take a look at these following cases. This case is from Dr. Renan Wolf, and it's particularly amazing for a couple different reasons. The first reason is, of course, the fantastic result. Is it perfect? No, but it is virtually a miracle for this patient. And the second reason, aha, does this look familiar? Of course it does. This is how this patient presented to Dr. Wolf. Now, if your practice is anything like mine, for every case of upper and lower veneers that you do, you probably do 20 cases of just upper veneers. And as you know, most of those patients want those upper veneers white. So we better be able to get those lower teeth nice and white. And you already know how difficult it is to whiten the lower anterior teeth. Now, in this case by Dr. Clarence Keegler, all the upper teeth needed porcelain. So what he did is he whitened the lower teeth with core first so that he could use this as a guide for his shade selection. And in this next case sent to us by Dr. Natasha Lee, and by the way, this is her very first core whitening case, you can see that this is a perfect example of what happens to core whitening users all the time. Dr. Lee suggested porcelain veneers for this patient to correct color and to close the spaces. But this patient wasn't young any longer, and he was sort of over it. So he wasn't motivated enough to pay for the veneers. Well, Dr. Lee suggested core whitening, which the patient accepted. And just look at the results she achieved on her very first case. She was so excited that she emailed me these photos. And a couple weeks later, she emailed me again to tell me that this patient was so thrilled with his results that he just couldn't keep his eyes off of his teeth. He was so excited that he called and asked to come in again to discuss those porcelain veneers. Now, you might be wondering, what is it that makes core whitening so successful? Well, as I mentioned before, I've been researching science of whitening since 1977. I've been at this for a long time, and I know the science, and I know what it takes to get teeth truly white. Among many other things that the science led me to is the importance of continuous refrigeration of the whitening products and how to handle sensitivity like no other whitening system on the market does. Logic and science are at the heart of core whitening, and they make it so that core can handle any case, from tetracycline, like this case you're seeing from Dr. Erica Klein, to dark geriatric, to average everyday whitening patients. There's a lot of fascinating science at the foundation of core whitening. So for those of you who enjoy learning about the science behind things, just give us a call. My team will be very happy to send you all the science behind the core system. Let's talk cost for a minute. It's probably on your mind, and I want to give you some great news. Since core whitening has grown so much and so quickly, it means that we've been able to bring the cost down a lot. And because of my continuous research and development, core whitening is now very, very simple to use, yet it achieves the best results we've ever seen. What that means for you is more whitening effectiveness and more product for your money. In fact, to buy the same amount of product from another major whitening company would cost you more than with core whitening kits. But the best part is what this means for your patients, and not just the tough cases. Because we've been able to keep the cost down for you, it means that results like you've been seeing today are truly affordable for all of your patients. And believe me, when your patients see these results and know they can afford it, they get really excited. Now, I've only scratched the surface with the before and after photos I've shown you today. There are lots more to see, more than 200 cases on our website. So I encourage you to go to evolvedental.com and click on the gallery. I think you're going to be amazed. We back the core whitening system with a guarantee that is completely unique. Remember, I'm a dentist too. I have that same closet full of junk that's just gathering dust that didn't do what the manufacturers promised. So I stand so firmly behind the entire core whitening system that we are the only whitening company in the world to offer a 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee. No other whitening company makes getting started risk-free, which is something I'm very proud of. You've just seen some amazing cases that didn't just impact patients' lives, their lives were completely changed forever by their new white smiles, mine included. And it's all thanks to the solid foundation of science that the entire core whitening system is based on. With our help, you'll be able to whiten cases that you might have considered to be impossible, with less sensitivity than you would ever imagine. Even better, core whitening's versatility makes it a hassle-free solution for every one of your patients, from average to severe and anywhere in between. But the best thing about it is the affordability. Core whitening consistently delivers results that are above and beyond anything you've ever seen at a great value and with the only risk-free guarantee on the market. So give us a call. My staff really knows their stuff, and they'll be happy to answer all of your questions and send you more on the science behind core whitening. From all of us at Core Whitening, thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to hearing from you soon.